The Spurs prove to the world what I've been preaching for the last 2 to 3 weeks, that they're legit title contenders.
San Antonio's rebuild is starting to look like something way more serious. They've already put together one of the best records in the West at 46-17, including an 11-game win streak in February where they didn't lose a single game all month.
And Wemby just has this old soul mentality where it's all about winning.
Victor Wembanyama is the center of it all. He's sitting at about 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game on efficient shooting, and his production has spiked even more lately, with March splits around 25 points on over 50% from the field while still spacing the floor from 3. In that recent 145-120 win over Houston, he and De'Aaron Fox led another blowout as the Spurs picked up their 4th straight victory and kept pressure on the top of the conference. What stands out is how comfortable this young group looks in real winning situations. They've been elite at home with a 24-6 record. They're beating good teams by double digits, and their young core already plays with the poise of a veteran playoff squad. In this video, we're going to break down how the Spurs ended up here, the front office decisions that set this up, the way they built around Wembanyama, and why this young roster is starting to look like a team nobody wants to face in a series. When you zoom out, what the Spurs are doing now starts with the moment they accepted the Duncan era was really over. Once Kawhi was gone and the DeRozan years topped out as low-seed playoff teams and play-in pushes, they were stuck in the middle. Too competent to bottom out, not talented enough to matter in May. The front office slowly started cutting their ties in that in-between space. DeRozan was moved in a sign-and-trade instead of walking for nothing. Derek White was flipped to Boston. Jakob Poeltl, another classic Spurs success story, was dealt too. One by one, the veterans that kept them competitive but capped their ceiling were turned into picks and flexibility. The DeJounte Murray trade was the real turning point. He'd just made an all-star team, looked like a potential franchise guard, and still they moved him while his value was high. That deal stocked their shelf with first-rounders and a swap, and it was the clearest sign the organization was finally done chasing 8th seeds. From there, the plan was simple, even if it wasn't guaranteed. Collect as many chances at a star as possible. That meant living at the bottom of the standings for a bit, taking real lottery swings, and trusting their scouting and development to cash in when the right prospect showed up. All of these moves, all of that patience, was really about one thing: being ready the moment a talent like Victor Wembanyama became available.
Tracks it down. Victor spins on LaRavia in the left hand.
When the lottery finally broke their way, it changed everything. After years of hovering near the bottom and stacking picks, the Spurs walked into the 2023 draft with a real shot at a franchise changer, and the number 1 pick turned into Victor Wembanyama. For a front office that had been quietly building for a moment like this, it was pretty much the perfect outcome. From day one, Wemby looked like more than just a big prospect. He was blocking threes, grabbing a rebound, and leading the break himself. He stretched the floor, handled the ball, and gave them a defensive ceiling almost no other young team could touch. The numbers quickly started to back that up. 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and a league-leading 3.6 blocks per game. All while spacing the floor and drawing constant attention from defenses. What really made his arrival hit, though, was the situation waiting for him. Because of everything San Antonio had done before he got there, they didn't need to rush or throw him into a chaotic environment. They had picks, they had flexibility, and they had the freedom to build around his strengths instead of asking him to cover every weakness on the roster. The result is what we're seeing now: a 7'4" superstar who not only puts up ridiculous box scores, but also sits at the center of a roster that actually makes sense around him, with guards, wings, and a system tailored to unlock what he does best. Once Wembanyama was in place, the front office went hunting for guards who could actually scale with a franchise big and win real games with him. De'Aaron Fox was the first big swing. San Antonio used its pile of picks in a 3-team deal with Sacramento and Chicago, bringing in a 25-plus points per game guard who was already an all-star and a former Clutch Player of the Year. Since the move, he's sat in that 20 points, 6+ assists range for the Spurs, giving them a primary ball handler who lives in the paint and forces defenses to pick their poison between his drives and Wemby's gravity. Then there's Stephon Castle, who's become the blueprint for what a modern Spurs guard looks like. As a rookie in 2025-26, he's averaging around 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, ranking near the top 10 in the league in playmaking while guarding the other team's best perimeter option most nights. His game log is full of nights where he fills every column. 23 points and 5 assists in a blowout over Houston, 20+ points and 7 assists in wins over OKC, and double-digit assist games without needing a huge usage spike. Dylan Harper has slid into that mix as a sixth man who looks more like a future starter than a bench piece. Over a recent 8-game stretch, he's putting up around 13 points and 4 assists in just over 24 minutes a night on 60% shooting, and he's already had games like 19 points and 6 assists in the 145-120 win against Houston. Together, Fox, Castle, and Harper give San Antonio something rare for a young team: multiple creators who can run the offense, attack mismatches, and close games, all while growing next to a generational big. The thing that really makes this Spurs group feel dangerous is how complete they already look on defense. A lot of young teams can score. Very few can actually get stops, communicate, and string together winning possessions the way San Antonio does right now.
Wemby on the run.
Everything starts with Wembanyama at the back. He erases layups, deters drives before they even happen, and gives the guards freedom to be aggressive at the point of attack. Even when he's not blocking shots, he's forcing floaters, kickouts, and awkward finishes, and that's where the numbers and eye tests start to line up. Opponents just don't get many easy looks when he's on the floor.
Response. Fox back in there. Stepping back. Welcome back.
On the perimeter, Fox, Castle, and Harper set the tone. Fox uses his speed and experience to blow up actions before they fully develop. Castle has the size and strength to switch across positions, guard top wings, and still handle a huge offensive role. Harper brings energy, physicality, and a willingness to take tough assignments off the bench. Around them, wings and role players buy into that same style: long, active, and always in the right spot. Over time, that's turned into a real identity. The Spurs run, they play with pace, and they put pressure on you offensively, but they also take pride in holding teams below their averages and closing games with stops, not just making jumpers. For a roster this young, having a defensive backbone this solid is a big part of why other teams are starting to look at them as a real problem in a playoff series. The Spurs' rise didn't happen in a straight line. For all the good vibes around this team now, they had a moment where everything they were building felt like it could fall apart overnight. Greg Popovich, the architect of the entire Spurs culture, suffered a stroke and had to step away. For a franchise that had been anchored by his voice and presence for decades, that was a shock on and off the court. Suddenly, the bridge between the Duncan, Parker, Ginobili era and this new Wembanyama era was gone, and a young group had to move forward without the coach they'd all expected to be there when things turned around. On top of that, Wembanyama dealt with his own serious health scare with a blood clot issue that shut him down and raised questions about how much he'd be able to handle physically long term. When your entire rebuild is centered around a 7'4" unicorn, anything health-related is terrifying. For a stretch, the conversation around San Antonio shifted from how high is their ceiling to can they even count on their star being on the floor? What stands out is how the team handled it. They didn't panic, blow up the plan, or rush anyone back. The rest of the roster took on more responsibility, the young core got real reps in tough situations, and the organization kept its focus on the long game. That's a big part of why this group feels so steady now. They've already lived through real uncertainty and come out the other side playing their best basketball. So where does all of this actually leave San Antonio in the bigger picture? You're looking at a team with a 7'4" superstar who controls games on both ends, a backcourt loaded with real creators, and a defensive structure that already looks like something you'd expect from a veteran playoff group. That doesn't really fit the usual give them 3 more years young core timeline. This is a team that can walk into a series right now and make life uncomfortable for whoever's on the other side. The way they're winning backs that up. They've put together long win streaks, they've handled stretches of the schedule against real opponents, and they've done it without needing one guy to drop 45 every night just to survive. Wembanyama gives them star production and star impact. Fox brings a steady late-game scoring option who can organize the offense when possessions slow down. Castle plays with a calm, two-way game that lets him toggle between primary and secondary creator without forcing things. Harper comes off the bench as another pressure point, attacking second units and closing certain games when they want more playmaking on the floor. There are still questions. They're young. They haven't gone through multiple deep playoff runs. There will be nights in the postseason where teams shrink the floor, pick at their weakest defender, and dare their non-stars to beat them. That's part of the process. But the important shift has already happened. This isn't just a collection of prospects anymore. This is a group with defined roles, real habits, and a ceiling that's starting to show up in the standings as much as in highlight reels. If San Antonio pulls it off, we might see the rise of the same dynasty that ruled the league once before. Before you click off, I want to hear from you. Where do you rank this Spurs young core against teams like OKC and Detroit? And who are you actually taking in a 7-game series? Drop your pick and your reasons in the comments.